We're back. How did your mom promote Shorty's then when she felt like business was going down? Do you have any idea?
Mostly be trying to get new ideas going, new bands. I know Lindy was trying to help her out the best he could. Newspaper ads. It was back then, you don't have social media, so you had to rely on your radio ads and new ideas. And my mom was older; she didn't have a lot of new ideas, and slow but sure, the bar just slipped away. It just wasn't the most. She couldn't afford bands, and she would not live with that. She wanted the bar with the bands, and with the business couldn't promote or afford bands. But she just wouldn't give up. That was her life, and that's what she wanted. So
I would imagine being up on the hill, the dangerousness of it.
Can you imagine?
Something to do with it.
Yeah, a lot of it. And times change. And these kids, they get smarter. Why should we go all the way out there when we can go down to Third Street? We can walk. Nowadays they bus these kids to bars. I don't know if they still do that, but I know what they did it at one time. But yeah, it was hard to rebuild the business, and she never did. It just went to the wayside, like a lot of businesses. It just couldn't get it back up. I think if she would have changed the whole atmosphere of the bar, like houses were getting built up there at that time. Just have a bar. She was an awesome cook. But that wasn't what she wanted to do, have a restaurant. She could have made it big in a restaurant business, because it would have been like home cooked type meals. And I still make them. And people said, where did you learn how to cook this? My mom was more or less throw things together and make it good,
Well, your brother Alan.
Al, he does that. To this day, he still does it. I'm not as good at it as he is, but I've got some of her old things up here that I make down in Florida, and everybody thinks they're so good. And that's what she should have done. But bands were her life. She loved the bands, and some of them were so good to her. Bobby Lee and Boyd Sibley, and they played at her funeral. It was really, Dr. Juice Provisky.
Oh, Dr. Rock?
Yes, Dr. Rock.
Rick.
Yeah.
Rick Provisky. He was good to my mom after Shorty's was gone. So was Bobby Lee and Boyd Sibley. They take her out to eat and do things with her. I thought that was over and above how good they were to her. So yeah, I just seen Dr. Rock at Lindy's. Yeah.
So then after high school, you were still up on the ridge helping out?
Yes, after high school. I moved out pretty much right after high school. About a couple years, I think I might have made it. Then my girlfriend Debbie and I got an apartment and decided to be big girls. So we were taught to have a job. As soon as you graduate, you better have a job. I graduated Saturday and I started at the garment company on Monday. So, yeah, it was not too many years up the Shorties, and it just went downhill,
And you mentioned something about a well that she had
Yeah.
to be putting in a new well.
She more or less got closed down because of that well. And to redig it was so deep, I believe it was, and it cost so much money. There's no way she could come up with it. She was forced out of business. And then finally it got sold on the market. I'm sure these people got it for a very reasonable amount of money, because nobody could open that up until they solved that problem. So.
What did your mom do after that? Did she just retire?
Yeah, she just retired, and my brother bought a bar, so she'd patronize his bar. She's still around young people. That's what she wanted to be, always around the young people. And there was something going on in La Crosse. She would want to attend it, Like Bobby Lee would pick her up. One time he took her up to Eau Claire when he was retiring. It was his retirement, so he took her up there. And any band members call her up and take her to different functions here, but most of the time I was gone. But they always took her places until she died.
And what did your dad do after he left the bar business?
He got a bar.
He got his own bar, okay.
It was called the Huddle Inn.
Oh.
That was on 3rd Street, way further away from the teen bars, by the bridge.
It was kind of like the round. There's the rounded
Yeah.
corner kind of. It was that.
Yeah. And he ran that bar for quite a few years and then retired out of bar business. So our family, for some reason, wants to be in bar business. Not me.
So you worked at the garment company, and then what happened?
Then I quit the garment company, went to the rubber mills, and I stayed at the rubber mills until I got divorced, and then I went out and worked really, really hard to find a better paying job, and I found a job at Holloman's. Well, rubber mills was closed down. They closed down every July. So I'm out looking for jobs in July, just before we shut down, and Holloman says, "This is great. This will work out for me. I just need somebody to drive a forklift for a month. That's all I need, and you'll go back to your old job. It's going to work out. It's a win-win for both of us." So they hired me. I never drove a forklift in my life. I get on this forklift, and I'm emptying and filling trailers, semi-trailers, and I did that for the month, just like they said. Except I got called back to work, and they weren't ready to let me go. So I couldn't afford to lose my real job or my steady job, so I kept both of them. I worked 3rd shift at Holloman's, and I worked 1st shift at rubber mills. Oh, that was just awful. One time I had like an hour in between, and my girlfriends met me at Artie's restaurant, and we walked up to rubber mills and worked the day, and I got out of work. I couldn't find my car. Where's my car? So all my girlfriends are trying to help me find my car. All right, Rita, stop and think, what did you do when you got off of work this morning from Holloman's? We went to eat. Oh, my car was sitting at Artie's. Oh no, so that's how tired I was. I was like I just couldn't even hardly stand. Finally, Holloman's laid me off. Well, then I'm really working on other jobs, and I finally got hired at train company, and I just stayed there. I got hired there, quit rubber mills.
What did you do with the rubber mills?
Rubber mills, I was in what they call the stitching room. We would put the tops on, sew all the tops on. I can't remember all the terms for them anymore, but tennis shoes. So we made tennis shoes.
And then you went to train company, and what did you do there?
There, I started out as a punch press operator, and just kept on working my way up until I was. You got to grow with rights. You got seniority. At that time, I was against unions. I don't anymore. But I was against unions because I was a good worker. I show up every day. I should have a right to that job over somebody else just because they've been here longer than me. I found out why that is, but I finally got smart and went, 2nd shift, I can get these jobs. So I went to 2nd shift so I could get better jobs. And I just kept on growing with the company until I ended up in Plant 7. And that's where I got to learn all these new machines that came in. They're like computerized machines. They call them tube pushing machines and expanders and tube expanders. I learned all of them, and I would train others and help fix them and troubleshoot them. If somebody had trouble, more likely I could fix it. So I worked under engineers, and it was actually very interesting, and I loved it.
How long did you work there?
32 years.
And tell us about your involvement in the union.
Okay. Well, the union asked me to get involved, mostly because I was against unions, And they taught me what unions are about. They sent me to a lot of schooling, and I got ahead of their legislative committee, where we would lobby, go to Washington D.C., and they sent me to lobbying school, and it just escalated. I got awards for different things I do. I had a campaign one time. They were going to tax our benefits, and that upset. Everybody was upset, and I went, well, why can't we stop it? So we had our legislative meeting, and I says, how about if we put a postcard campaign out there? So I went to my union boss. He said, well, let's try it. So I went to my union meeting, and I went and gave them to all the stewards, and I explained to them how important this was. You get insurance, and let's say they value it at $300. You're going to get taxed on that $300. That we earned that. We fought for that, So our union stewards went out there. And then every week I would find out where all the other unions had their meetings. And I would attend their meetings and get their stewards. All of a sudden, I didn't need to go nowhere. I was getting phone calls left and right. We need more postcards. We need more postcards. Then one day my boss calls me up and he says, you got to go to Washington, D.C. And he sends me with this box of postcards. I says, what's this? He says, just go. He says, you're going to go see Congressman Steve Gunderson. I said, okay. So I get to Washington, D.C., I'm all by myself. And so I go to see Steve Gunderson with these box of these postcards, probably 1,000, maybe more than that, because they're real thin. And he says, how the heck did you pull this off? He opened the door, and this closet was just heaped with postcards in the boxes. He says, these are all your postcards. He says, every senator and congressman got them. He says, they're not happy. I said, well, we're not happy either. So we need to change this. He says, this ain't passing. And it didn't. So I remember driving down the street on West Avenue, driving this, and I was on the political talk show, and this guy goes, people say they can't make a difference in this world, that why vote and all this. He says, there's a little blonde in La Crosse, Wisconsin. She stopped our benefits from being taxed. And I went, and he said, I can't think of her name. I went, Rita Chandler, Rita Chandler. So that was one of my biggest accomplishments, and I'm proud of it. We did good. And I went to Washington, D.C. lots of times. I went all over to conferences, conventions.
Did you get involved with politics at all?
Big time, yeah. I met with, matter of fact, I was on Steve Gunderson's committee. He's a Republican. They think that unions are Democrat. We're non-political, really. We will pass anybody that fights for the rights of workers. If you're a Republican and you vote for people, that's how, then you get our vote, So, I went to, I can't think of all the time. I went to the Democratic National Convention because of my involvement, and I did just billions of things. I mean, it was all over. Atlanta, Georgia, went to a big conference there, convention. That was a convention, a machinist convention. And I got, in La Crosse here, I won awards for the YMCA Woman Labor of the Year. And I met with congressmen and senators for breakfasts and luncheons. And whenever they were in town, I got a phone call. So,
did you run any campaigns at all? Or?
I ran a lot of campaigns. Feingold's, Ed Garvey, that was Herb Cole won. Not my man. I won in La Crosse. He just didn't win the state. And I ran a lot of campaigns. That was very interesting and powerful. What goes on behind the scenes. It's really quite a lot of work in it.
Yeah, you mentioned you were throwing yourself into it and got really thin because you're.
Yeah, I was down to I know it was like a size 7 or less. And I just is so exciting. There's something going on all the time. I just I don't have time to eat. I don't have, my union boss goes, one day he'd come in with a salad, eat. Okay, I'll eat. But yeah, it's a very exciting job, but I burnt out. I got too involved in it, too much, but I'm not sorry for it. It was well worth it. I got a good education out of it, and I know a lot more about politics and how it runs, and I think that's important for everybody to know.
And let's talk about your pastimes. Your pool and softball and traveling.
I wasn't a very good pool player, but I got into a pool league. And at first I was supposed to be a substitute. Next thing I know, I'm just playing all the time. And I was the worst player on the team. But at that time, you could have a coach. Your coach could help you make a shot. And we got all the way to the top. And at playoffs, you pick partners from the other team. I pick a name, they pick a name of our team. Who do I pick? Their top player. Who does she pick? Me. So we, the game got down to our game. This is last game, and this says who wins that trophy. And I went, I can't do this. And my coach says, you can do it. You just listen. Just settle down. So they got me settled down, and we did it. I got it. We got the trophy. So softball I was good at. I love softball. They called me Slide, and they all Scoop. They had all kinds of names for me. I was probably the top softball player on our team, and then they graduated me to better teams. Well, then I wasn't such a smarty pants. I wasn't the greatest, but I did well. I loved playing. We started, traveling, playing softball. And
were these tavern leagues, or this is a different kind of league?
One was tavern league. The pool was. The softball was tavern league, and there was train company league. There was other leagues too. That I played with whoever wanted to play it. I just wanted to play.
And you traveled. You enjoyed traveling.
Yeah, I did. I went to Spain, Germany, over in Europe. That's where I went there, and then I've traveled all over the United States, and one time I took off a week and traveled through Wisconsin. I went, been all over the place. I've been to Europe. I've been in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been here. I don't know much about Wisconsin. So I took a vacation, and we just kind of jig-jagged all over Wisconsin. It was awesome, very fruitful trip, just full of beauty and knowledge, and a lot of history that you don't even know is here.
You've been to Mexico.
I've been, Mexico quite a few times. How could I forget that? That's where I've been the most. Lots of places in Mexico. I went deep sea fishing, caught not a marlin.
Big fish, anyway.
Yeah, it was a big fish. It was just as tall as I am. I took the picture to work. I went, look, I caught a fish just as tall as I am. And one of the guys that works says, big deal, insinuating I'm short. It was a big fish. Yeah, that was a lot of good trips.
I forgot to ask how how Shorty's got its name.
Oh, my dad. My dad was tending bar for a guy, and he says, "What's your name again?" This is his boss, and my dad would go, "Valerius," and he goes, "Valerius." Oh, I'll never remember that. From now on, it's Shorty. So that name stuck that day on forever till the day he died. Even his brothers called him Shorty. I'll tell you a funny story about what my dad did to a customer one time. My dad and one of his brothers looked like twins. I mean, they really looked close. So Dad says, "Here comes one of the guys. He's a regular, comes in every day." He says, "I'm going to go in the back room. You pretend I don't know how to do anything," but his brother, and he says, "Go back behind the bar." And so they went back there, and he goes, "Good morning, Shorty." And he says, "Good morning." He says, "I'll have whatever he was going to have." I go, "Well, we don't have that today." And this guy, they went on for about 5 minutes. My dad and my dad's brother's going, he doesn't know what to do with this guy. And the guy, he goes, Shorty, what is wrong with you? Now go get my drink or whatever he was going to have. But it was the funniest thing. Here comes my dad out, and the guy couldn't believe it. And they weren't that close in age either. I mean, it was like 4 or 5 years apart, but they pulled it off.
Which brother was that?
Fun?
Which brother was that?
I can't remember. I'll think about it. I might know. Yeah, that's how my dad got his nickname, Shorty.
And you said your dad never let the women work behind the bar.
Yes, he was very adamant about that. I'd rather tend bar than wait on tables. And he, nope, wouldn't give him, never did give him. And then my mom, she didn't care, but yeah, he had this women thing, you know. So yeah, I never got to tend bar much.
Well, how did you wind up in Florida?
My brother Al was camping down there. He followed the racetracks, you know, NASCAR. And he was down there one time when I was looking for a place to retire. I was out in New Mexico and out west. I wanted to go out west. Well, then I was planning another vacation, and he says, why don't you get a one-way flight ticket down here, and then you can ride home with me in my motorhome, because I'm going to check out Lehigh Acres. And he says, why don't you stay another week and stay with me? So it ended up being like a 4-week vacation, something like that. Anyways, I got out of Lehigh Acres, and that's over by Fort Myer, and I went, I don't think I just don't feel safe over here. This is not what I want. So I went and stayed with him in his camper, or his motorhome, in Avon Park. And then the Packer games came on. He said, suppose you want to watch the Packers. I went, no, the game didn't mean nothing. It was the end of the season. If we lost, we lost. I mean, it was just a nothing game. I said, no, we don't have to go watch the Packer games. I know you want to watch it. So off we go. We could not find a bar with the Packers on. Finally, he went, I know, I'll take you. So he took me to this bar called, don't come to me. Anyways, went to this bar, and they have a back room just for the Packer fans. So we're whooping up the game, and I at halftime overheard this guy say La Crosse, Wisconsin. And I went, hey, Al, I said, that guy just said La Crosse, Wisconsin. He said, I don't care. I said, well, I do. So I went over there. I said, hi. I said, I heard you say La Crosse, Wisconsin. You live in La Crosse, Wisconsin? He goes, yeah, I was born and raised on French Island and North Side. I said, oh. I says, my brother and I says, we're from La Crosse too. And he says, whereabouts? And I said, well, you might know my brother's bar, Bucky's Burger Barn. He goes, oh, I know Bucky's Burger Barn. My friend that graduated from high school owned that. He said, Al Held. And I went, well, Al Held still owns it, and he's sitting right over there. So we went over and talked to him, and then he invited us over to his house after the game. And we got in. It was a community 55 and up. I went, you know what, you guys are chit-chatting. I'm going to walk through the park. I come almost back right away, and I said, hey, Jim. His name's Jim Puka. I says, Jim, do you have a notepad or something, a pen I can write on? Sure. So I went through the whole park, wrote down all the houses for sale by realtor and by owner. And I come back to his house and got to back to my brother and started making appointments 15 minutes apart. And I fell in love with the house I got now, and it was a dump, but I like ripping and tearing. Every house I bought, I just got to rip and tear. So I ended up buying a house through my brother, sort of.
That's fun.
Yeah. I still ripping and tearing. Yeah, that house there is beautiful now. That's the one.
And it didn't suffer any damage from this hurricane?
You know, I made it through the hurricane. A lot of my neighbors didn't. Not the great. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. It was nothing like Fort Myer. We lucked out. Irma, one house, got collapsed on top of a couple and their daughter. So we were fortunate this one. We got it. It was roof's gone, and a lot of damage on the outside more. It mostly what a lot of happens with these hurricanes, a tornado comes through afterwards. So yeah, we escaped one more time.
Well, you've had such a rich, full life. Is there anything that you feel, besides the union involvement, what other accomplishments you've had?
I think these last few years, especially this last year, I've been real close to I slow down. I never had any kids, and I take on kids. I just love kids, and my sister had 3 kids, and I took them on as my kids, helped her raise them. Now they got kids, and I do whatever I can for them, and it's paying off tenfolds or hundredfolds. It's just how, when you get closer to your end of your life, you find out who is so close to you. And I was Linda, my niece, her and I did her mom's, when she lost her mom, we did her big rummage sale thing. We did that together. Bonding, all these little bonds that you do that you don't know someday how much that means to you when you get close to dying. And it's that's what's I achieved. Good friends, good people,
Good relationships.
good relationships that mean more to me than I could ever express.
I think your dog agility things too.
What's that?
The dog agility things, the classes.
Oh yeah, I showed my dogs in agility, rally-o, obedience, and they're little Shih Tzus. That's not their thing. But I love Shih Tzus, and I would go with all my dog friends. They had the show dogs, they had the real thing. But we had a lot of fun with them. They were show-offs and whatnot. And I got trophies. I got my ribbons and stuff like that. For Shih Tzus, they did pretty doggone good. And we worked hard, though. It takes a lot of work to get a Shih Tzu to go up and down ladders, or not ladders, but frames and jumps. And I had Buffy in a full coat, my one female, and she jumped. Oh, that hair would just fly. It was so pretty. Yeah, that was one of the fun things. I had my enjoyable years with my dogs. Wish I could have many more.
Was there a place you went to do that training?
Yeah, we had the Family Dog Center over in La Crescent, and they moved to French Island. And that's where I got most of my training done there. And then we would go all over the dog shows, Minneapolis, Cedar Rapids, all over. We just follow a circuit of dog shows, and you don't win money or nothing. But sooner or later I found out that dog shows and all that was costing a lot of money, and if I was going to retire I had to slow down on that, so I did. But it was fun while I did it.
You want to mention your episode when you were snooping in Alan's drawer that one night?
Yeah, I was a snoop. Don't snoop no more. I got taught a lesson. It was like 3 a.m, who knows, 4 a.m. My brother pretended he was hiding something on me in his bedroom. So I just wait till they go to sleep. I'll find out what he's hiding. So I sneak into his bedroom, and I pulled on that drawer. Finally, and I couldn't hang on to it, and it fell on both of my feet and broke my toes. We got into a lot of trouble with that one.
He had rocks in it.
He had rocks. The drawer was full of rocks. Probably, 40, 50 pounds, or maybe more. Little episodes.
But, right.
Yeah, they're funny after you're healed. But it taught me a lesson. Honest, I never snoop. If it's not yours, don't look.
Did your parents ever do much in terms of like consequences at all, or you just kind of learned your lessons? And
We learned our lessons the hard way. We got the smacks. They'd be in prison now. We get punished. And you just didn't smart off. You get walloped. it's not like now, and I can't remember. Sometimes I wouldn't get a spanking, but I got punished for my bike accident. I was in a mess, gauze all over me and whatnot, and I still got punished for it. They didn't feel sorry for you. Shouldn't have been doing what you were doing. Okay. But that's just the way it was. They were very strict. I think it paid off.
Did you ever go to the teen dances?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Want to tell us about those?
We had Conway Twitty was here one time. I got to meet him. We sat down with him. I was wrong about him like I was wrong about McDonald's choice. That poor man's not going to make it. I didn't think he was that good. So I hope Conway Twitty don't see this, but he changed his music. He went from rock to country. That's when he made it. So if I would have listened to him sing country, maybe I wouldn't have said that. So, and we have those teen dances at the Avalon, and we just go out there and scream at everybody on the stage, just like they do on TV.
Anybody else you remember coming to the teen dances?
Oh boy, I already was trying to think of somebody else. I know we've seen a lot of important people. Well, Elvis was here. I didn't get to go to that, and I don't remember why. Mom wasn't too proud of Elvis Presley. And when the California guys, the service guys that come up to my parents' bar, they want to teach me all these new dances like the twist. My daughter's not doing the twist. I did the twist. My favorite dance. Well, one of my favorite dances. Yeah, I can't remember. I know there was important people that came to the Avalon. I just thought it's not clicking.
Elvis was in '56 to the Mary E. Sawyer.
Yeah.
Auditorium. And your sisters didn't go?
My sister Val might have, but I never heard her talk about it. I don't think we were allowed to go because my mom wasn't too fond of Elvis. I think that's what it was.
Sounds like lacrosse had a problem with him in general.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't like lacrosse.
His gyrations.
Yeah.
Well, anything else that you can think of?
I can't think of anything.
Tell the world?
No, I can't think of nothing. I hope it was informative and was.
Yes, told us a lot of good stuff. And you said nobody in your family was terribly musical except, was it your brother that plays the accordion?
Yeah, Brother Dwayne. He played the accordion. Yeah, my brother Al, he can't dance, sing, play an instrument. He can't do nothing. At least I did play guitar. I tried to strum along with it, but I wasn't very good at it. But I can dance. I love dancing. They call me Happy Feet down in Florida because I just can't sit still. Gotta go dance. And my sister Val was very into dancing. She was a good dancer. Barb, I don't know. Roger was a good dancer. Dwayne, I don't think he was. So I guess we got some musical talent, but very little. And now we got a great niece that's playing in musicals in the college over in Eau Claire. She's a singer and a dancer. I go, well, I don't think you got it from this side of the family. Not I can think of, but the dancing maybe. Because every time watching her grow as little on, I went, wow, I wish I would have had that offered to me, all those dancing lessons, because I love to dance. I can do everything from a polka to a twist. Jitterbug. One guy, we were downtown on 3rd Street one time after my 25th celebration, working at a train company, and a guy was out there dancing, and this guy says, do you, what do you call that dancing? Oh no. It's like a jitterbug, but anyways, I said, no, but I know how to jitterbug. Same thing, he says, let's go. So we went out there, the whole dance floor cleared out, and they all clapped for us. And what is that dance? Oh, I can't believe not three of us can't think of the name of it. But anyways, yeah, I love to dance. And that follows in our family, so I think she did get that talent from us.
Was there a piano up at Shorty's at all?
A what?
A piano?
No.
It wasn't at all? Okay.
Well, there was in the basement. I took piano lessons,
Okay.
but not up in the bar itself.
Okay.
That's what started me on piano, I think.
Oh, was
The
it?
fact that you were playing the piano.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I learned 2 songs. Cowboy Boogie Woogie and my dad's favorite song from Lawrence Welk. Oh, well, another one, I don't remember what it was. Yeah, that's all I can remember. So, I think that's it for me. I don't know.
Well, thank you very much, Rita, for sitting down and talking to us about your life and your memories and your mom and dad and the bar and bands and just life in La Crosse in general in the area. That's very valuable.
Yep, and La Crosse is a very valuable place to live, and it's very valuable that we have you here at the library. Thank you. Are we going?